Hello, my name is Peter Maloney, the Secretary of the Newport Historical Society. We were the, and I'm also a member of the Newport 300 committee for celebrating the 300th anniversary of the foundation of the town of Newport. We were awarded a grant from Mayo County Council and the Heritage Council earlier this year to produce a family tree for the town of Newport. And we were asked to make a presentation for Heritage Week, and I'm going to go over here how we produce this family tree. So the sources that we used for the family tree were the Valuation Office cancellation books, the 1911 census, irishgenealogy.ie, and then there was two paid sites where we can look up relations for the family tree, Ancestry Co UK and findmypast.ie. There was also two free genealogy sites that we used, www.wikitree.com and familysearch.org. We're able to find some more information by entering people's names in google.com. The purpose of producing this family tree was to make contact with people that had left Newport and their descendants. We've produced a book on the history of Newport from 1720 to 1920, and this will be published shortly before Christmas. So the Valuation Office cancellation books started off working out the value of every house in the country from 1857, when Griffith's valuation was made, up until the abolition of rates in the 1970s. These were in books up in Dublin, and you could look through the entries for each house book, which I had been doing over a period of 10 years. And now what I'm going to do is present you some of the findings from these books for the town of Newport. So this house is on the quay of Newport. You can see the house here, and at the moment it's owned by P.T. McDonough, who has recently redone the house up. And looking at the valuation office books, we were able to find who had lived in the house since 1857 until the present day. Here's some old photographs that will show the house. Here's one from the Wynne collection, and here you can see the house in here from the Orem photos in the UCD. Here's the house again here, and these are warehouses that were used for storing stuff that was imported into Newport. This is from the hill up above Medlicott Street, and you can see that the house over here beside this big warehouse that belonged to Martin Carey. Here's the house again from the National Library of Ireland Connect. And another view from the other bank of the river. And in 1954, Thomas McDonough. So here we can see another, sorry, that went backwards by mistake. In 1954, Thomas McDonough, the father of Peter McDonough, the present owner of the house. So then in 1911 census, we look and we see who's living in the house. And these are all the houses that are in, most of these are on the Key Road in Newport. Thomas St. George McCarthy was aged 48, a district inspector in the RIC. His wife Lucy Josephine McCarthy, aged 46, and the daughter Kathleen Mary McCarthy, aged 20. They also had a servant, Mary Bridget Grady, aged 20. From the various genealogy websites, we were able to find that they also had a son called George, who in 1911 was living in a house 26 in Nelson Street in Tipperary Town. The head of the house was Margaret Lonigan, a 58-year-old widow, who gave her occupation as boarding house proprietress. Also living in the house were 3 clerks in Munster and Leinster Bank, George Tobin, aged 26, John J.C. Regan, aged 22, and Sidney Trust, aged 21. 10 years previously, Thomas St. George was living in the house number 4 in Stapleton Place in Dundalk. He was aged 38 and was a district inspector in the RIC. Living with him were his wife Lucy J, aged 36, who had been born in Dublin, his son George Edward, aged 12, also born in Dublin, and his daughter Kathleen Mary, aged 10, born in Londonderry County. Their daughter Kathleen Mary McCarthy was born on the 22nd of September 1890 in Main Street, Limavady, County Derry. Her parents were St. George McCarthy, Main Street, a district inspector of the RIC, and Lucy Josephine McCarthy, formerly Lynch. Lucy Josephine McCarthy died at Grangegorman Mental Hospital, Dublin, on the 4th of May 1929, aged 64. She was married and cause of death was mitral valve disease for several years and gradual heart failure certified, and death was notified by Kathleen J. Berry, inmate present at death, Grangegorman Mental Hospital. On March the 12th, 1943, St. George McCarthy from Moorhampton Road died at Linden Convalescent Home, Blackrock. He was aged 81, a district inspector retired at the Royal Irish Constabulary. Death was due to chronic myocarditis of 2 years and cardiac failure certified, and was notified by A.V. Staines, present at death, the Linden Convalescent House, Blackrock. From ancestrycode.uk, we were able to find a baptism certificate for Thomas St. George McCarthy on June the 11th, 1862, in Banshire, County Tipperary. His parents were George McCarthy and Margaret Doherty, and the sponsors were Thomas McCarthy and Clara Doherty. Also from ancestrycode.uk, we were able to find that his rank, when he retired, his rank as district inspector, and he was working in County Longford when he retired, and he was 49 years old. His annual pension was £208, and the pension commenced on the 23rd of January 1912. We were also able to find in Tom's official directory of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland that he was a district inspector in Dundalk in 1895. We were able to find out a little bit about his son, George Edward McCarthy, who, as we'd seen before, was a solicitor. He was born about 1889 in Dublin in Ireland, and he died in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada in 1978. He had arrived in Quebec in July of 1923 at the age of 34, having departed from Liverpool. He was married 20 years later, on October the 11th, 1945, in Strathcona, Edmonton, Alberta. And he married Alvina Ferris, who was previously married to Albert Cales. His occupation in 1949 was in Edmonton, was given as a lawyer per phone directory, and also from one of the relations of his wife, Judith Cales. In 1949, the voters list said that he lived in 9535 109th Avenue in Edmonton, Alberta, and also living in the house was Alvina McCarthy. In 1957, on the voters list, George McCarthy was listed as living at the same address, and he was now occupation was given as retired, and Alvina McCarthy was also there. And the same in 1958. His wife died on the 20th of March 1973, and he himself died on the 2nd of January 1978, aged 84. As he married so late in life, they had no children, but his wife had 2 children from a previous marriage. The daughter of Thomas St. George McCarthy, Kathleen Mary McCarthy, as we've seen, was born about 1891 in London, Derry County in Ireland, and she died in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. There was no record of her being married or having any children. There was nothing available on WikiTree to do with this family. And there were several entries in FamilySearch.org which were leading to the directories of the RIC. So they could tell you where he was stationed each year from when he started his career. He retired in Longford. So this is where it gets really interesting, is that looking it up on Wikipedia, I found that Thomas St. George McCarthy, born in 1862 to 1943, was an Ireland Rugby Union international and a founder member of the Gaelic Athletic Association, being present at Hayes Hotel in Thurles in County Tipperary at the association's inaugural meeting on the 1st of November 1884. His father, George McCarthy, who died in 1902, was Lieutenant of the Revenue Police. Then he left the Revenue Police and became a County Inspector of the RIC, and was also a resident magistrate. He was originally from County Kerry. According to it, then looking him up on Google again, it says, according to a historian of the RIC, Jim Herlihy, McCarthy, who was born in 1862, became friendly with Michael Cusack when he attended a grind school run by Cusack in Dublin for men wishing to sit entry exams for Trinity, the professions, the police and army. McCarthy, who joined the RIC in 1882, the same year he played rugby for Ireland against Wales, was stationed at Templemore in County Tipperary in 1884, and it was his friendship with Cusack which brought him to Hayes Hotel in Thurles for the historic meeting. In 2000, the GAA decided that as McCarthy's grave was unmarked, that they would erect a stone on his grave and have a ceremony there in memory of Thomas St. George McCarthy, GAA founder, 1884. He died on March the 12th, 1943, aged 81. On the GAA.ie website, there's a little bit of history about the meeting in the 1st of November in 1884. A small group of men, at least 7 and possibly as many as 14, met in the billiard room of Miss Hayes' commercial hotel in Thurles, and there founded the Gaelic Athletic Association for the Preservation and Cultivation of National Pastimes. The 7 founder members were Michael Cusack, Morris Davin, who presided, John Wise Power, John Mackay, J.K. Bracken, Joseph O'Ryan, and Thomas St. George McCarthy. Also admitted later by Cusack to have been present was Frank Maloney of Nina, while the following 6 names were published as having attended by the more detailed press reports of the time: William Foley, unnamed Dwyer, unnamed Culhane, William Delahunty, John Butler, and William Cantwell. All these were from Thurles, except Foley, who was from Carrick-on-Shore, like Davin. This is a map of Newport, and you can see here the house that we're discussing in here. And we'll also be talking about Medlicott Street in a later presentation, Castlebar Street, Main Street, and George's Street. The project will be completed by Friday the 29th of October 2021, and there'll be more details in the book that will be published by the Newport 300 Committee. Newport 300, the first 200 years, 1720. You'll be able to browse the information that was given in this talk at your leisure at newportmayo300.com/genealogy.